Hi, and welcome to Beautiful Forever. Beautiful Forever University is proud to have an amazing speaker today with us, the power of communication. And Addie Kate is one of the experts. And we
Hello.
got to go all the way to North Carolina to find her. It's all about,
Yes,
it's all about patient communication and making or breaking and generating loyalty and referrals in your practice. So there's lots of ways. You don't have to spend a lot of money on ads, but you today we're going to share very successful tips and hints and ideas for your practice. Communicating with your patients is number one. That is the most important. We will talk about a lot of things, from recalls to newsletters to appointment reminders, and patient financing options, and how you can get your office to communicate better with your patients. So today we're going to focus on being effective and efficient in your patient communication. So it does take a little bit of work. And I'm happy to say that Solution Reach offers some amazing tools that we're going to talk about, some of them today. And Care Credit patient financing options makes it affordable to everybody. So we have a winning team today, and we're really excited to get started.
I'm
So
excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. So Addie Kate is really interesting, and she's a marketing director for Beauty Bar in Greenville, North Carolina. She's been with them almost 4 years, um, and she enjoys using all different types of technologies, and Solution Reach is one of them, and that's why she's with us today. She studied graphic design and communication, and it's very clear in all of her work that she did study it, and she's continuing to study it, and we have some great talks about it. So her career at Beauty Bar Med Spa, maybe after this, she'll become even more famous.
Perfect.
So we have some top successful proven tips today that we're going to talk about what, actually this information that we are talking about now is a white paper, and it was a survey that was done. The white paper will be, and we'll talk about it, a free download at the end. So that's great, because this way, anybody who's on today or who has signed up and is not on live will actually be able to easily see what we're talking about here. But what makes a high quality provider or doctor? Well, the first thing really is communication. So these are quotes from the study. So these are numbers that are very interesting if you think about it. 62% of why somebody chose or picked a provider or a doctor is because of communication and caring. That's really interesting number, 63%. So what about their training and education and expertise? I would think that, that might be closer to number one, and it's not. It's 25%. So you want to build loyalty. You really have to pay close attention today to communication skills, and generating loyalty through your referrals, through your communications. And we try to make it easy. And that's what we offer Solution Reach. And we're offering some tips and hints today from Addie Kate, who is a marketing director. So she will get involved in some of the conversation with us today.
Perfect. So, Cheryl,
Yeah, I'm here.
going off of what you're saying with the communication and caring, while we do push the 25%, training, education, expertise, we found that you can tell people all day what you do, what what the tools that you take. We bring in new technology, but we found that sending every patient a post-appointment survey further reaches that caring communication. How was it today? Did you hear about this? Did you find that that you knew what your provider was qualified for?
And we will talk about the surveys in more detail, because I think that that is a missing link for a lot of practices, that they don't use the surveys as well as they're so important, and they don't even realize that they're not using them. There's a lot of tools that are readily available that are not being used today. And it could be, not everybody has a marketing director or marketing, as we do marketing for a lot of our clients as consulting, and we'll oversee their marketing programs. Not everybody is that involved. And they just
Mhm.
think if you have a website, that's all you need. Well, that's a starter, your website, and it has to be updated all the time. And it should have all your information, because that is your brochure online. And there's a lot of competitors out there. So how do you stay above the competitors? To me, it's you communicate, especially now in these times, in the last 6 or 7 months. What's going to happen this winter? I think we can't look backwards. We have to look forward. And this is going to be the new trend in communicating with your patients when COVID's over. I think people are still going to want more communication and less time in an office, if they don't have to be there. So, we will talk about providing, a really good experience, which comes along obviously with the provider and good communication. So improving that experience is partly how you communicate, what you're communicating, that you're talking to your audience,
Mhm.
and that you're also offering patient financing options like care credit, because you really have to make things turnkey and easy for the office staff as well as for your patients. So the fact that we are talking about combining both, let's say, Solution Reach in this case with care credit, um, and they're linked together in the same program, it's just wonderful. So any questions anybody has on anything that we're mentioning today, they could get back in touch with us, and we're happy to answer. And you'll see at the end, we also have a beautifully profitable special for our digital version of our educational resource guide. Next slide. So the power of patient surveys, here we go. So we're with the use of surveys.
Mhm.
We use them as consultants, and we might use, Survey Monkey. In this case, you can use one that's in a program like Solution Reach. So you want to get patient engagement. You want to talk about satisfaction, how happy they are, what feedback, and you want to measure that. So tell us a little bit about, like, one of your last patient surveys, how you got your patients engaged, because that's usually I should say, an issue for a lot of
Mhm.
offices. They don't get a large number of people answering their surveys. The same thing with testimonials. Once you leave the office, it's hard to capture. So how did you capture? Because your numbers were great, as you and I talked about some of your surveys.
So, two parts. First, if you come into our office, about a day later, you always get a post-appointment survey asking, did you enjoy your visit? How was your check-in, check-out experience? Did you find that your provider explained your service prior to your treatment? Just overall. On top of that, we also, which we found was very helpful, was we sent one out about a month ago that said, and if you want to talk like incentives, we said, look, we're coming back out of COVID, or we're opening up again, offering treatments. We're bringing in some new stuff, but we've heard you, and we want to hear more from you. What is your opinion? What would you like to see with Beauty Bar Medispa going forward? What growth? What new services, products? Is the communication good enough? Are you hearing from us too much? Are you hearing from us not enough? So what we did was we said, hey, we sent it out a newsletter, take the survey, and if you do, while supplies last, we will give you one of our vendors' totes. So we offered the incentive to get those surveys in quickly, and we actually ended up giving just about everyone who sent the survey back a tote, which was awesome. But that giving them a tote was a very small thing for us for what we got back in return. We found out that people, not only do they appreciate our reminder texts, they love them. They want more. The email, we found that they are not only following our newsletters, but sending them off. They're sharing them with friends and family. Surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, this is such a COVID, everyone's on their computer, everyone's working from home, everyone's, you know, suddenly has this newfound interest in what's good. How can I, how can I improve my appearance
Wait, I can't hear you.
this far away from your face?
Okay.
You can't.
No, now I
Can you hear
can.
me now?
Now I can. Yeah.
We're all sitting there with our computers this far away from our face. How can I improve? And it has brought in, you know, having, like you said, the brochure online on your website. You can subscribe right then and there to our newsletter, and our newsletter is going to update you more frequently than just our website that always is getting updated. But we found that through these surveys, we would ask things like, what kind of equipment would you like to see? So we've actually brought on a new facial and then highlighted that on the website, like, hey guys, we got this new facial that you had requested. So not only are patients getting these surveys and saying, I'm getting a free tote, there's my incentive already, but I'm actually being heard. It's not just, okay, give us your ideas and then we're not acting on them. Patients are actively seeing their responses being heard. We also have given them the opportunity, if you want to stay anonymous, any feedback is feedback to grow on, whether it's positive or negative. So with that, we've been able to say, would you like a provider to reach back out? We've actually brought on a new survey or a new consult opportunity for our patients where you can come no charge and learn more about everything we offer. You don't just have to come for facial, Botox, whatever it may be. So I definitely think that a survey that they can fill out in under 5 minutes is extremely beneficial.
How many questions are you asking when you send out a survey? Because most of the time we'll tell people, don't ask too many questions because then you'll lose them.
We have done, so the post-appointment survey is about 5 questions, and it is ranking it from a horrible experience 1, great experience 10. And then we'll have, you sit there and you click 4 different numbers on the scale. And then that 5th question, any other comments, any other concerns, praises, etc., that you'd like to share. And then we close it with, would you like a member of our staff to reach out to you to discuss any of the above?
And how many people usually will come back and tell you that they want to be anonymous?
If I send out 100 surveys, much fewer than you think, about 5 to 10%.
Or 5
Yes.
to 10 out of the 100?
Out of 100, so yes.
Well, 1 minute. Let's start backwards. So how many emails are you sending out at one time?
When I do, so for newsletters, we send it to our entire patient base, which is about 3,000.
Okay.
And then for our surveys, I may say, okay, I may choose to only send the survey out to people that we've seen in the last 18 months, 2 years. Or I could say, okay, this person has only came to see us one time. I can then target certain groups. Who do I want to hear from? They only came once, then we didn't see him again. I want to know why. Send them a survey. Hey, how was your experience?
Do you ever pick up the phone and call anybody if a survey came back where you had some concerns?
Absolutely. It's just like the website example of always needing to update that, always needing to change it. These surveys are not something that we keep the same, especially with the groups that we're targeting. And with that, we can say, if you told me that you had you loved your experience as far as your treatment was great, but you rated your check-in experience horrible, I want to know about that. So myself or someone else from our staff may contact that person and say, so tell me a little bit more about this, or go check in and look at what happened that day with their chart. and kind of try and dig a little bit deeper and be like, let's see, what can we do to remedy this situation.
So how are you actually getting the survey results? Because I know that in your busy day, and we talked about your days being so overbooked and busy, and you wear all these different hats, and I get that. It happens at every practice.
Right.
So are you notified when there is a survey that comes back with some scores that are, I guess, under 4 or 3? I don't know what your numbers that you
So I
target.
can do it. I don't know about every platform, but I know, like you said, we use Solution Reach, and I will have the opportunity with that. When I talked about that 1 to 10 scale, I can say if it was below a 6, honestly, because I don't really want it. I don't want someone saying that their check-in experience was below a 6. So I can set it for that, and I'll get an alert when that survey comes back. I'll get an alert that says, somebody wasn't happy with something. Just the same, that free response section, I can say, if anyone fills out anything, and I will tell you, it's the best surprise when I get a notification that someone's responded, this thing, and I'm like, oh gosh, someone's got a complaint, and it's
Uh-huh.
had a wonderful experience. It's just a little icing on the cake.
No, I think you're doing a great job. And I love the fact that you're so enthusiastic about the surveys. How often are you actually sending them out?
Well, like I said, anytime someone comes to see us, so we may see 30 patients in a day, that's 30 people that are being actively sent those surveys. Now, if I get them back or if I don't, I can't control that necessarily, but I can throw in incentives like we spoke about with the totes. That was just a handy example. But then
Do
with
you
the
give
other,
right? But for those 30 that
Mhm,
came in today, are
mhm.
they going to get a survey with a incentive, or just going to be a survey on their services and their experience?
Um, Typically, I don't offer just a regular incentive. Typically, it's just, but even then, I mean, when you keep it short and sweet and simple, I mean,
Right.
they don't have to sit, they can be walking back to their car and, clicking, had a great time, had a great time, had a great time, or vice versa.
Do you tell them that a survey is going to be coming? Does somebody at the desk tell them to please fill out the survey?
Typically, we do not.
Okay.
The only time that we have done that is in situations where we did the, hey, we really want to hear back from you, and there's an incentive. I will say that if someone has responded and said, I had a great time, and taken the time to fill out that free response section, I can actually go from that survey that they've sent back and send them another request like, hey, we saw you had a lot to say. We're so happy. We're so happy you were pleased with your experience with us. What do you think about leaving us an online review? So then not only are we hearing their praises, but then we can send them real quick. It's one click from our dashboard that they can take it to whatever social media site, Google, what have you, and leave us a response that everyone can see. So then I've got patients that are coming in, hey, yeah, I saw your reviews on Google. They look great. And that could have easily started with a survey.
That's great. I mean, it's amazing how, I mean, we probably could do a whole day program on these surveys. I mean, and and the reason I'm spending so much time on it is because I think that most of the practices don't utilize it. And I think it's something that is really very important. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking, I'm asked by several editors in our trade magazines,
Mhm.
Anesthetic Authority today and Dermoscope. They've asked me for some new ideas for 2000. I think for next year, I probably will come up with something to talk about the surveys, and I'll talk to you and even quote you
Yes,
and some other things that
please
you're
do.
doing. So now we'll go to the next slide, and there's a lot to cover here. So we know smartphones. I mean, we all live with our phones. It's crazy how it is so difficult. I don't even know. I mean, 50% of Americans believe that they couldn't be with their phone for 24 hours. Forget about that. I mean, my phone broke and I was using my husband's phone, and I was thinking out that I didn't have a phone. So I couldn't even wait 24 hours.
Look, it's my
But
alarm clock. I can't. I won't even be up for the day without my phone, so it's fine.
that's funny. And 98% are texting, and I'm one of the big texters. I mean, people will tell you, we don't know where Cheryl is. You might not get, 3 sentences, but you will know that she's there because she will text you back. And smartphones are the way that we communicate. I mean, I'll use my phone sometimes more than anything else, especially if I'm on the road or I'm not near my
Mhm.
computer or iPad. And I think people are always checking whether there's specials, whether it's just communication with family and friends or business.
Well,
And I think, yeah,
and I don't want to go backwards, but just kind of transitioning from the survey to this, one of the questions we've asked in the survey is, how do you how are you most likely to find out about our monthly specials, which we offer? We offer different services or products on special monthly. What we found was more, I bet like 80% of people were saying from your emails, which was, I'm 24, I'm on my phone, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and social media all the time. But the amount of people who that wasn't the Instagram, the Facebook, they fell short compared to just email, which
that's
was surprising to me. But then if you think about it, unless you've subscribed to a social media account, email, you're getting notifications, beauty bars popping up on their phone. So it's not that 87% checking email doesn't surprise me, but I've got proof in a survey that it's true.
So when you say emails, is it your actual emails that you're sending out, the e-blast, the 3 a month or the 1 to 3 a month with your promos and specials? Or is it, does that include text messaging as well?
So the email is, I send an email at the beginning of every month with our specials. And then if we have a flash sale come up, especially with the holidays, we've got those left and right. If we had, like, Black Friday was a good example. We had a Black Friday special that came up. It was a week-long thing, and I sent an email in the middle of the month. So email is completely separate than like the texting. It's even separate from the surveys that I'm talking about. I wouldn't consider those just like our newsletter emails.
So it's not from the text message. It's definitely from the emails, the
Mhm.
newsletters. That's
Yep.
great. And it's great to hear, it's great to hear it right from you, that this is working in your practice, because we hear it all the time.
Mhm.
And so I guess on to the next slide, where we're going to talk about technology to build your practice. And, as we talk now in communication and personalized messages and newsletters and surveys, I know Solution Reach does offer that. And they always will give our clients priorities. So if anybody's interested, get in touch with us. But I think re-engaging is really important, because I think that there's a lot of old, old dated patients that maybe got lost for one
Mhm.
reason or another, and you want to get back in touch with them. So I think that, that is something that we should talk about, is re-engaging. And I know that you've had success with that. So tell us your success story.
So we do a thing with our platform with Solution Reach. It's recall. They have a recall option, and I can say, for anybody who does or doesn't get Botox, you get it every 3 to 4 months typically. I can take a patient who's come in for their Botox. I can run a report through Solution Reach, find who my Botox patients are and who hasn't been back, or who's was coming regularly and then didn't. Um, a lot of people, life gets busy. You don't even realize that it's 3 or 4 months out, but it automates a message to them that says, hey, you were coming every 3 months. Our books show you may need a touch up. It may be time for your next treatment. We have so many people respond, yes, please schedule me, which is, everybody can't live without that Botox. But so we've definitely seen that that's a success story on its own. But even more, you know, we sell retail products, cleansers, and all kind of skincare lines. I don't know. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off if I run out of my makeup or my cleanser or my toner. So even those little reminders for recall of, hey, we haven't seen you in a while, you haven't been here in X amount of time. I can put parameters on who I wanted to contact, and the messages that I want certain people who received certain services to receive.
And these messages are pre-written. correct? And do you edit it, or you just use something that's already in the library?
So I have Solution Reach does have pre-made messages, but they also, and what I utilize most is the ability to edit or create my own. And that way I can even more fine tune who is receiving what messages. Um, as far as, I mean, even with the last thing you want to do is have someone who, we're saying, hey, come in for a facial, but then we don't say, but before you come in for that facial, stop that retinol. Because then they get here and they're like, look, you guys, reminded me to come in and now I can't even have my treatment. So we also have a message that says, okay, this person's down for a facial. Remind them 10 days, 14 days, send out a message that says, stop the retinol.
No, and I think that's great, and it's very creative, and I think it's very important. There's a couple of things here that I want to talk about. One was that you had an amazing recall at one point. I don't think it was that long ago, where you did a 3-month recall and you generated almost $50,000, which I give you credit and I applaud you for. So tell us about that.
I'm running out.
Something to know about it.
Hold on, I'm sorry. The call dropped. What was it?
Okay, so you had a 3-month recall, and you had almost $50,000 in revenue coming in. So I think that was amazing by sending out an automatic reminder you haven't been in, and that when you figured it out, that you generated almost $50,000. So I think that's great, and I think everybody should follow that lead. I think the appointment reminders are great. And then, we talk about cancellation policies. Some people have them and hold people to them. Some don't use them. I know your cancellation policy reminds them in 24 hours. So tell us a little bit about that and how it's helped with your no-show rate, because that's a big deal.
So we, you will have our cancellation policy is give us 24 hours notice. We do, for new patients, we have a thing where you have put down a deposit, and you won't lose that deposit as long as you let us know 24 hours in advance, or, even if you don't reschedule right then, you have not lost that deposit as long as you've given me 24 hours notice. It'll stay on your account until you reschedule. So we have had a lot of success with the cutback of that, because we not only send out, your hey, it's 24 hours and you're panicking trying to get me that message quick enough. We send it out 1 hour before, 1 day before, 1 week before, and 2 weeks before. As well as if you're past that 2 weeks, as soon as you make the appointment, you get that reminder for, hey, like, just let us know of your appointment and let us know if you're not going to be able to make it.
And obviously those reminders are helping, and you're finding no-show rate going down.
Absolutely. We had I would say that we have 90% fewer no-shows than we have in the past. And even if I do have a no-show, I can real quickly, because we are literally texting you all, you get so many reminders, I can have that spot filled because I've, gotten that 24-hour notice.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's important, especially now with COVID and seeing less patients, having to be more compliant. I mean, I totally understand that, and I think you're doing a great job with it. There is and I don't know how aware you are, and I'm not an attorney, and I have an attorney that will bring back on and talk about it in more detail, but there's a TCPA, and there's text guidelines, and that TCPA stands for Telephone Consumer Protection Act. So, you have to be very careful when it comes to text messaging. In most cases, they have to opt in. You're allowed 1 text message a day. I'll just tell you some quick things. It has to be free to the end user. And there are exceptions, but it has to be very, what they say, concise. concise actually means, I went to look it up, means it has to be less than 1 minute. So whether it's a text or a voicemail. Now, if it is healthcare related or it's marketing related, you have to choose which one. So I think that's very interesting. And I think the TCPA should be something that a practice should be aware of. And I will be following up with the guidelines and talking and having an interview with an attorney soon on that subject, because I think it's important. And recently have come across a med spa that I didn't know very well at the time, but they actually wound up having to get an attorney. But then they found out that that one person got them in trouble, but also got two other businesses in trouble the same week. So,
Well,
it's interesting, and there's not many of those type of people around, but you have to be very careful.
well, that is just kind of going off when we were saying, you were asking about the emails, does, when I was calling them emails, do they include the text messages? No, we do not send any text messages that have to do with marketing. It is the only time that they got the email saying, hey, fill out the survey, you'll get a free tote. The only way that they got that message saying, hey, you got a free tote, thanks for filling out the survey, was if they chose to partake in that survey. But we do not send out regular marketing text messages. It's always in the form of a newsletter, email, or a survey that they can then opt into before they ever receive a text message.
No, and I think that's great. Do you do any videos? Because you're so good on video.
Oh gosh, I was just thinking I'd watch the playback and count how many times I said but thank you.
Do you do any videos? You do any
We do
video?
on our social media. We do some on the social media, but I've never played around with, sending them in a newsletter or anything like that.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. But Care Credit is a way to make it possible that somebody could spend more money, close more consults. They have the contactless payment, which is great. And now they actually are integrated with Solution Reach, which makes it so easy for the office. And we do find that the revenue goes up, even though some providers will complain, we don't want to pay a percentage to a finance company. But if the money is in the bank, within a day or two, and you're closing many more consults, to me, it's a win-win. And I've always been a strong believer in offering patient financing options. And you and I had a little bit of a discussion about that, waiting for this to start. So tell me a little bit about how you feel it would help in your practice to even close more consults.
I think that alone, I mean, that's a benefit, but and you think back to the patient's experience. If Care Credit is going to enhance their check-in, check-out procedure, what they're paying, they can be, we're talking, being on their phones. Everyone's on their phones. Everyone's on their smartphone. It's a 60-second way to sign up for Care Credit and get approved, find out what you're approved for. The provider, the last thing you want to do is have a provider talking about something that you're never going to be able to, you're not going to qualify for. They can say, okay, look, this is where you're comfortable. We can kind of gear it towards you, which makes the patient's overall experience so much better. I think it makes Care Credit. I hope that they have a lot of growth for our office too. I'm a big proponent. I'm pushing for it, but they definitely make such a great experience for the office staff and then the patient side as well. The fact that they work well together is a benefit.
Right. And they also integrate very well with a lot of programs, and they also integrate with Solution Reach, which is great. We don't have a contact information here. Mike Flanagan is my contact person. Probably won't be thrilled that I'm giving you his personal email. It's mflanagan, FLANAGAN @carecredit.com. But in the follow-up, we do send a follow-up survey, by the way, to our webinars and interviews. And I wonder if we're using the same blonde hair color.
I know. Look like twins.
And we will give the information on how to get in touch with Care Credit as well as Solution Reach in the thank you note that we will send out with the link to this live event. If somebody missed it, or you want to reevaluate yourself, as you talked about, or share it. We do a lot of free education through Beautiful Forever University, and we actually offer specials as you do in your business, and we offer free consults. And you and I had some great phone calls, and I really think there's some other ways we can probably even work together. But I'm looking forward to that one day. But I think that people have to pay more attention to what's important to the patient. So if it costs you a few points, it's okay. You're going to wind up making up the money in volume. And volume for some could be 2, volume for some could be 200. But bottom line is the bottom line. And we're looking to help you as consultants to increase your revenue, add new ideas on today's communication and being effective and efficient, how you could do things, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. We do have clients that'll spend $10,000, $20,000 a month in ads, and they do get back some revenue from it, no question, but not everybody can afford to do that. So the ways that I think that we shared today, if people would listen and follow some of them, I mean, I think that it's a win-win, and we're giving them a lot of free advice and free education of successful tools that you and I both know really do work, and you were here to talk about it. So, the Care Credit improves the provider experience, which is great. So when we talk now about increasing revenue and results, we talk about being efficient in the office, as you and I have talked about. To me, the happy patient is the most important, because we want to make sure that everybody leaves happy. It's like when you see a good movie or go to a good restaurant and you tell everybody. That's what we both want for the business. There's no question. And you are part of a dedicated staff. And if you really, have the staff working with you, I can almost guarantee that they're as dedicated, or almost as dedicated as you are, to building this
absolutely.
product.
We have a great team. I love my team.
Which is amazing. And you know what? Because you are one of the top people that they're working with, and you're training them, and they're looking at you all the time. You're talking to them, you're meeting with them. That's dedication, and that's loyalty, and that's going to help. If you have it within house, happy staff, that to me equals a happy patient, and it will increase the loyalty and increase your revenue. So it's all about the bottom line, increasing your revenue. We have all of this information, as well as the surveys in the white paper. That this is actually the first time. You were one of the first ones to read it. But for the first time, we'll be handing out the survey at the end for anybody who has signed up, or it will automatically come at the end of our event today. So I'm excited to share that and get feedback. And I was happy, that you were one of the first ones to read it. And this is the cover of it, the patient communication. So it's all about generating patient loyalty and referrals. So that is going to be the handout. And I know you were the first one to read it. What did you think?
There's so much information. There's so much useful information, things that I've thought about but haven't quite put into words. You touch on, and I mean, just having read it when you first sent it over, and then kind of looking through it before we got on here today. I can't say enough about it. If you don't look at it, if people don't look at it after the webinar, they've missed half of what we just talked about today, and so much more. It's a lot of good information. And I think that it is information that, whatever your scale is, whatever you bring in from it, it can speak to an office that sees 3,000 patients in a week to an office that sees 100 patients in a week. But it's going to grow that patient base either way.
No, and I thank you for that. It's something that was long overdue, and I'm happy that it's finally out. I don't know if you have a copy of our Beautifully Profitable, Forever Profitable book, but we do have a special for it here, and the digital version. But we also do signed, editions of the hard copies as well. But we always try to give a tidbit, and today is about patient loyalty and treating your patients like gold, has its rewards. So we usually have different tips and hints about top priorities in your practice. As a matter of fact, today, Aesthetic Authority actually is publishing a series of 12 tips and hints that we did for them that they got amazing feedback for. They emailed today and they asked for more. And they will go, and today, I don't know if you know of that trade publication because it's relatively new. It's almost a year old, but Aesthetic Authority. So they have a hard copy a few times a year. I think one of my articles, my new articles will be in there. So Beautifully Profitable book is amazing. It's the only resource. It's a #1 and only resource guide. It's in its 6th edition. So
Wow.
it has lots of great information. And, for office meetings, the reason I wrote it was because you could open it up, pick a topic, whether it's blogs or social media or anything, and you can start the conversation. We have some practices that have bought copies for everybody in the office, and they have a meeting once a week or once a month, and they talk about one segment of the book. It could be a paragraph, it could be a section, and it leads for great discussions, as the white paper will as well. So we do have a special, for those that are interested in the digital version, and they could just use the discount code and download it today, and have a copy of it. So everything that we talk about is on beautifulforever.com. I post articles probably every week, if not every other week. I have articles and columns, and webinars like this one and interviews. So there's lots of great free information. We started Beautiful Forever University, and we're starting to grow and build membership because we want to stay connected. And we feel it's very important. We're going to start a Facebook group that will be private. We also are offering, if you know anybody or anybody who's listening knows anybody who needs a mentor. I am happy in the industry for over 35 years, if not more, and had a spa, opened the first medspas in the US. So we're happy to mentor in any way that we can help people to be successful in the medspa aesthetic industry. We go over into wellness and dental and eye care and weight loss and anti-aging as well. But I use aesthetic, I guess, and medspa, which I was kind of founding member of the associations and the whole programs. And then our programs coming up, we have some really interesting people, and the next slide will show you some of the dates and the times. Oh, maybe it's not there today. Okay. But if you check beautifulforever.com, we have some top key opinion leader, dermatologists, physicians, office managers. We have one coming up about retail and sales and product development and designing your own product line, which I'm a big fan of private label products because the revenue is enormous. I mean, 200% markup. And we should probably talk about that one day, helping you do that. And not big minimums, and it doesn't have to be crazy, but there's so much revenue to be made in having your own product line. So we have a lot of really interesting topics coming up, and a lot of key opinion leaders that will be involved. So everything is always listed on our website at beautifulforever.com. And I thank you for today, and I look forward to one day meeting you in person.
Yes, absolutely. I would love it. I'll wear my mask.
Yeah, so will I. Happy to Zoom where we don't need masks.
Yes, absolutely.
That's one thing that's great about Zoom. But I think Zoom has also helped us to increase the revenue of skincare, Botox, and because we're all looking at ourselves all day long, where before we didn't have to look at ourselves that much. So I thank you for all your time and effort, and keep in touch and stay connected, and
Thank you.
share today's webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, and have a great evening.